Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
How do you cast a reality TV show with drag queens that has turned into this pop culture machine and beast of its own? But if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean that you're in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast, where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of entertainment industry professionals and pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more in a light and in a conversational fashion. And if you like how we do things around here, I will assume that you do, because let's face it, you're listening right now. And if you are, please keep listening and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. Give us a 5-star rating on your podcast provider of choice. We're available pretty much everywhere, places like Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google, and plus we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel. So if you can give us a like and subscribe there as well, we would absolutely appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on social media. We're on the Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, the Letterboxd, the TikTok, the Blue Sky, the Threads, Tumblr, probably a few other places that I forget. At In the Seats for all sorts of fun updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large. Because guess what? If we love to watch it and write about it and talk about it, we love it all that much more when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So please do us the ultimate kindness, come on by and pay us a visit. On this episode, it's more Emmy talk. Specifically, it's Rupaul's Drag Race Emmy talk, and we dive headfirst into the art of casting. Because, you got to cast these shows, you got to find people to be on them, and it's one of those things I never quite had any insight into. But we got to talk with casting director Goloka Bolte, who has worked on various iterations of RuPaul's Drag Race, but was also nominated for an Emmy for this most recent season. And we talked about the art of drag, finding the right people, telling the right stories, and just what really casting in these unique situations is all about. But like I said, it's nominated for an Emmy. RuPaul's Drag Race. I don't need to sell the show. It's fun. Just go watch it. But enjoy our talk with Golka about the art of casting on a show like this, because I think you'll like it. I know I did.
It's so weird being on the other end of this. This is, yeah.
But I mean, Golka, obviously, first off, just thank you for the time. And I mean, this must be old hat. Multiple nominations. I see a couple behind you on your shelf. Like,
it never gets old. It never gets old. Celebrating Drag Race and like all the work that goes into it, all the love, so much heart and soul and care and everything goes into it. So thank you for wanting to talk about Drag Race. I'm always happy to.
No, I mean, I guess my first question is, it feels like casting for something like Drag Race would be a different gear. Like, how did you ultimately get started on the show?
I was brought on for season 6. And I had a relationship with World of Wonder. I cast some other shows for them, like Million Dollar Listing and some other fun projects, and they were looking for a new casting director. It was, sort of the luckiest break ever. Because it has truly been the gift that keeps on giving. It's such a joy to cast. It is. I hate to brag or rub it in, but I think it's the most fun casting job in the industry. It's so colorful. There's so much talent. The queens bring so much energy. Their stories are so heart-wrenching, and getting to be in sort of like the glittery, sparkly, beautiful drag world. It's my favorite time of year. It's like, it's better than Christmas.
Love it. I mean, how do you keep the energy up though? I mean, or is it just the queens? Because obviously you're God knows how many hundreds of episodes into sort of doing this job. How do you keep it fresh? How do you keep it original?
I think the queens themselves keep it fresh and original. Drag as an art is constantly evolving. It's what drag looks like today has changed a lot over the last, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. And so, there are always new stories to kind of tell. And also the show is making new contestants. I mean, we have so many people on the show now that they started doing drag because they were watching the show, and they're bringing new points of views. We have a whole new generation of amazing humans.
That's wild. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Now, I mean, obviously going through your sort of career CV, looking through your IMDb, like you've definitely sort of specialized in quote unquote reality TV. How does sort of the casting job differ from that to say versus traditional scripted or narrative film or that kind of thing?
I've done almost, I've helped out on a couple little projects. I've done host casting, but I've done very little unscripted casting. I got my start as an unscripted casting director a million years ago. I can't believe it's been 22 years now. I'm an OG. And I started on season 2 of Joe Millionaire, if you can remember that show.
Yeah, I'm that old, so I
And
know the show.
and like now we do everything like mostly virtually from the office, and we have so many online tools. But back in those days, we were traveling to different cities. I was chasing people down in the mall and at county fairs with my little clipboards and my flyers. And yeah, it's definitely changed a lot over the years.
The evolution of the job, absolutely.
Mhm.
Now, I mean, I gotta ask, it's one of those things, especially with Drag Race, because I mean, admittedly, my gay friends turned me on to Drag Race, and then I was like, oh, I'm not gonna watch that. It's just silly. And then I watch it, and I'm like, God damn, this is fun. Like, from your perspective, as someone who's in the middle of it, why do you think Drag Race keeps getting all these nominations, keeps getting put up for all these awards? Why do you think it keeps producing again and again and again?
I mean, it is really incredible to see like the trajectory of Drag Race. We went from being such a small show. We were on Logo, but it like really sort of like
It's a beast
ca
now, yeah.
captured the attention of the viewers, and it really grew like organically. And then when we moved over to VH1 and eventually to MTV, the audience got bigger. But I think because, one, it's a relatable talent competition no matter what. It is completely stocked full of comedy. There's so much ridiculousness and laughs, and like all of that is really universal. And then I think that also, at the core, like that sort of like, celebrating the person who feels different and out of place, and really like getting to know their story, and what makes them tick, and we're, sometimes the pain and hardship that these queens have gone through to get to where they are today. Like, all of that stuff is really relatable to any human.
Yeah.
And I think, as you watch it, and it's, but like the comedy and the talent is universal. I love when I see people who are, might not have a lot of experience with the, LGBTQ community. They kind of are walking by as the episode's playing, and they're like, oh, wait a minute, this
It
is
can catch
this
your
is
eye, that's for
good.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And then by the end of the season, they're yelling at the TV about who they think they should win. You know what I mean?
I'm curious. Obviously, you talk to so many people, you cast so many people, you hear all these stories. Do you get a moment to sort of stop and sort of enjoy seeing those play out on the show, or do you, as the casting director, have to be thinking next, next, next?
I definitely not. Like I'm able to separate sort of the day job of
Right.
casting and be able to get the job down. And then I watch like Drag Race especially, but like I watch that show as a fan. I know I can find out who won, who's in the, or who's going to win, who's in the top thing, but I don't want to. I want to watch it, and I want to be surprised every episode. I choose that every season because it's amazing to go on the journey with them and see how these people who, some people surprise you, some people are exactly who they thought. They're, we're dealing with human beings, right? So they're going to be unpredictable in some way or another. And it's amazing to watch Drag Race specifically as a fan. So
Cool.
I keep it separate.
No, I mean, going through credits, something popped out at me, and I've got to ask this question because it's just one of those things that I'm having a hard time wrapping my brain around.
Mhm.
How do you cast for the Grammys? One do you cast an award show? Like, is it
Oh
just
my
sort of
God.
seat fillers and dancers and extras? Kind of like, how does one kind of do that?
There's that one is probably, if you're not familiar with it, that is actually one of the most incredible projects I ever did. And keeping it a secret was one of the hardest things that we ever did. Basically, I don't know if you remember the Macklemore and Ryan Lewis, the song
I
Say
do, yeah,
What.
yeah, yeah.
And so Ken Ehrlich reached out, and what they wanted to do is cast this amazing wedding in the middle of the Grammys. That was like, couples from all ages, gay, lesbian couples, like, we had like lesbian grannies getting married. I put some of my gay best friends on the show to get married. It was really incredible. And so we pulled this thing off. They didn't know what it was going to be. They knew there was going to be a mass wedding as part of a big TV event, but they didn't even know until right before that it was the Grammys. And then they didn't. And so we did all these rehearsals, and everyone had to get their, everyone had to have their marriage licenses ready.
Yeah.
And then like literally, and they found out basically the day of that, like a couple days before that was going to be the Grammys. And then the day of that, it was going to be to the same love song. And Queen Latifah was officiating, and Madonna was going to come out and be their wedding singer. So that was a moment that was like an industry, like blew my mind moment to even be a
That
part
is absolutely wild. And I mean,
of.
it dovetails into my next question because I'm always curious, and I mean, I think this is true of other people sort of who are on the outside looking in who don't necessarily understand sort of the nuance of the job. At the end of the day, we're all creative people, and sort of this is why we're sort of in this industry. Like, what is the creative payoff for you in something like this? Is it finding that right person or being able to create that right moment, like you said in the Grammys?
I really love working with real people. I love unscripted. That's what I said. That's always been my career path.
Hmm.
But it's seeing it's actually putting someone on a show and seeing them kind of have a life-changing experience, and everything that comes afterwards. Especially when it's a talent competition, putting someone on, seeing them do well, seeing them shine, and then also seeing them, like specifically with Drag Race, become like a global superstar afterwards, and have it change their career, and they're booked on international tours, and like, and also getting to be part of a show that, has a really positive message, and
Yeah.
that young people watch and it inspires them. It makes them feel safe and like they have a home. It gives them hope. Like those are the things that really, like, I take to bed with me at night. They give me the warm fuzzies, and it's one of the reasons why I love this job so much. It's being on a show. There are all these amazing, like incredible inspirational elements, and it's also just it's really fun to see people have this kind of grand adventure.
No, I mean, I'm curious because, I mean, obviously, as individuals, we all have egos. Like I said, you've got a couple of trophies behind you, but do you get to enjoy the Emmy experience, or do you have to sort of let your category pass and then you can sort of enjoy it for the team kind of thing? Because I mean, again, when it comes to TV production on all levels, like it takes a village. I can imagine at some point you're rooting on the rest of the show, whether you won or not.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's definitely yes, I've won a couple. I've also lost a lot. And so
You
I've
got
lost
to.
more I've lost more
Come
times
on,
than
let's
I've
measure
won,
those
trust me.
people.
But yeah, I mean, we're every win for the show is, it's a win for all of us. It's like, it's the producers are so talented, our editors, our choreographer, our like lighting designers. There are so many talented people that work so hard on the show. So we want to celebrate every single one of them because they are part of making the show fantastic. And I mean, RuPaul, always rooting RuPaul on for the host. Like this
Oh,
was
Ru, got to cheer for
RuPaul
Ru.
made
Yeah,
history this year as the most nominated host in history. I'm actually the most nominated unscripted casting director, but for some reason that didn't make as much news. In
well, that's why I'm
unscripted,
here because I'm
yeah,
here to
nobody
celebrate
talked
you.
about
So,
that. But no, it's like we're always rooting each other on. It's such a big family. We've all Drag Race doesn't have a lot of turnover. We all work on the show together
of course,
year
yeah.
after year after year after year. So, getting to experience together is really amazing. I also have an incredible team, and there were some they made changes so that they could have more casting directors on the ticket. So now I get to share them with my amazing casting directors who work with me, Adam Cook and Michelle Redwine. So they get to come in for the Emmys. We
Love
get
it.
we get to do dress up. For a long time in reality TV, we did not get to do anything. We were not, especially in casting, like we didn't think we would ever be invited to any parties, any like, it was sort of, we were very like under the radar, and it's been amazing over the last 22 years to see like the business develop so much, and it becomes something that's taken seriously, because the cast, like the unscripted cast, are so important. Like their vulnerability, like them sharing their stories, who they are at their core, in addition to their talent, is what makes these shows amazing, and what makes Drag Race amazing. Like we would be nowhere without our
No,
queens.
100%, 100%. And I mean, I think it speaks to how sort of the business as a whole has evolved as well, because I mean, especially when people are on the outside looking in going, "Oh, how do I get into that? I'd love to work on a show like that." Like, what's the career path? It doesn't feel like there is one. It feels like there has to be sort of that ability to think outside the box. Like if you can be sort of a free thinker, that sort of lends to sort of, especially your end of the job, and to be successful at it.
I actually think like one of like skills that translate really well into doing unscripted casting is like being kind of an investigative journalist.
Right.
I think gives you really great skills, because you're used to searching for people and interviewing people. And also anyone who's ever booked for talk shows, like they are just like, reality TV is like an easier, more fun version of it, because that is a hard job.
Yeah.
And but I think that what makes somebody really good in unscripted casting is really like loving people, and really like, and all different types of people and all different communities, and having a genuine desire to learn about them, and like really wanting to learn about other cultures and other lifestyles and everything, because we talk to people all day, we search for them all day. We're like, we do a lot of social media stalking, YouTube stalking. I mean, if I wasn't doing this, I'd be at the FBI, I think, just like tracking people down is what I do for a living.
Where do you see sort of the Rue empire growing? Because I mean, obviously, like you said, it started as this little show, but it just kept growing, it kept expanding. There was offshoots, there's global episodes. It is
Mm.
a cultural phenomenon now. Like, where do you see sort of I mean, like the Rue television universe growing?
I mean, I think that we're in like 20 different countries right
Yeah.
now, plus all these amazing offshoots of the country, or of other offshoots of Drag Race. I actually cast three of the international versions as well. I do Mexico, Brazil, and Germany, and I have a bilingual team, that's local in the countries, and we all work together, and it's so fun to cast. And it's also like you realize that these stories are universal. The struggles are universal.
Yeah.
The creativity, the language, all of it is universal. People are experiencing it all around the world. But I definitely hope to see Drag Race in every country. Every country needs a Drag Race. We need it everywhere,
The
and
amount of shared human experience that comes through on something like Drag Race absolutely blows my mind every time I watch it. It's really one of those remarkable things where even I, as a sort of a fan, I'm like, oh, admittedly, initially dismissed it, but then after I watched it, I was like, shit, this is really interesting. This is really fun, and there's something about it that just I hate that it sounds hyperbolic to say that this is almost like a bit of a global unifier, but it feels like Rue and this sort of and drag is really this idea that if you're open to it, it brings us all together in this very unique and sort of unifying way.
I mean, I think you put it so beautifully. I think drag at its core is joyful.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a beautiful art form, and it's and a lot of like what we're talking about, like these, like the shared human experience, the vulnerability, the fear of feeling like you're, less than, of not being accepted by your family, of, like we all deal with that in different ways. Sadly, our queens deal with it in a more extreme,
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
in a more extreme way, and they're so brave, and like, they've had to overcome so much. It is like literally just stepping outside their doors in some places, sadly enough, is an act of defiance. It's a
Yeah.
political statement. They are sometimes at risk. And I think that people can always like relate and root for them, and the fact that they've been able to come out the other side and create
Yeah.
something that's so joyful, and and entertaining and beautiful, and also the show itself and RuPaul's message that if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love someone else, is like that is a global, saying that we all need to take to heart.
We all need a little more joy. We all need a little more Rue in our lives. I believe that 110%. Goloka,
100%.
thank you so much for the time, and thank you for the insight as well. Just not only in on the job, but I mean, just sort of, I guess the nuances, especially when it comes to unscripted, because again, it's not necessarily one of those things I thought about, but it definitely feels like it's a different dynamic layer to sort of the idea of what the job is.
Hmm.
If that makes any kind of sense.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's a very different job. We're also dealing with people who are not used to being on TV.
Right.
So we do a lot of hand holding and a lot of, like, it is really, I always say to anybody getting into this job, you got to love talking to people, and you have to, be a warm person with great people skills.
For sure.
You've got to be able to put people at ease, make them comfortable during an interview when it's their first time. I mean, it's weird for me, even like you're recording me and I'm used to being on the other side. I'm like, so my job is to make, someone who's doing this for their first time, like, they put them at ease, make them feel comfortable, and teach them how to tell their own story.
Well, you know what? I'll be rooting for you for number three, and I'll be rooting for Team Drag Race at the
Um,
Emmys. But I mean, honestly, just thank you for the insight and thank you for the time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. All right. Talk to you soon.
All
Bye.
right. Take care. Bye.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.